Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sounds real dramatic, like something's coming. Got that real intro type vibe to it. Yeah, enough of the smooth. It's bad boy, baby.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
They go by the name of Q, Mike, Slim, Deron. And this is part 3. You know, like the third album. Like the third time we've been here. Like part 3. You know, yeah, they represent the ATF. Come on.
Just a little 12 is all you need. Just a little 12 is all you need. Just a little 12 is all you need. Oh, baby. Just a little 12 is all you need.
What's good, everybody? Episode 5, as you know. The playoffs have been crazy. I know I already told you guys that, the playoffs going on. I'm just going to have to kind of ramp up the whole episode, especially with how many games are being played and just the fast pace that the playoffs are at and the traveling and the scheduling and, the constant back and forth. I gotta try and keep on myself. So this is basically just a round 1 check-in. I don't know how many playoff check-ins I'm going to have. It's probably going to be a good amount. So, for, the viewers that have been, keeping tabs on me over the past couple months, I would definitely advise to, continue to do so. But anyways, like I said, round 1 check-in. I'm just going to talk briefly kind of about each series, kind of my thoughts, because, what to do gotta think about at the end of the night besides every single round 1 matchup in the NBA. So with that being said, I just want to start off with a series that is kind of hitting home for me. The Nets Celtics series. Obviously, everyone knows my love for, Kyrie, one of my, favorite basketball players, athletes for that matter, in today's day. And obviously Kevin Durant. I could talk all day long about him and everything, and just those two as a tandem. But at the end of the day, I'm a Celtics fan. I do bleed green. And a lot of people usually tease me talking about, oh, your boy this, your boy that. But I'm a C's fan. I've been a C's fan for a very long time. And this has been a crazy series. It feels like the NBA Finals personally. The matchup has been nothing short of exciting, exhilarating, and I can't get enough of it. It's crazy. After game 2, all I was thinking about was that series for the next 12 hours. That was all that was on my mind for both sides. I was just thinking about what adjustments the Celtics could have made, what adjustments the Nets could have made. Obviously the Nets gotta make a lot more adjustments than the Celtics. But the Celtics, I have to say, I feel like I should start off with this. That was the best defense I've ever seen Kevin Durant face in my life. And I've watched a pretty good amount of Kevin Durant. He's dating back to, obviously his days with Russ on the Thunder. He was a scoring champ at 21 years old. You would think he would have already had faced every sort of defensive coverage and matchup and everything. You would have thought by now he would have seen everything. He's 33 years old. He's been in the league for, he's a vet, you know what I mean? You would have thought that he's already seen everything, but what the Celtics did to that man was crazy. I know people are kind of going crazy with, he went 0 for 10, but I think this is a lot more about the Celtics than him. You heard him in the presser. They're tugging on him, dragging on him, sending 2 guys his way every time, whether he's in pick and roll or he's on the block, which is usually where he likes to operate. He usually loves to operate on the block, 16, 17 feet out, and that's just really where he displays his isolation brilliance, and the Celtics have been just dogging on him. But I do have to say, as an objective Celtics fans, games 1 and 2 were very, very winnable Nets games. Very winnable. The Nets could easily be up 2-0. But I feel like that just shows the growth of the Celtics, the growth of Jason Tatum, the growth of Marcus Smart, the growth of Jaylen Brown, and just the growth overall of the organization. Brad Stevens being able to look himself in the mirror and say, hey, maybe I'm not the right guy to coach this team. Maybe I'm more suited for a front office position. And I mean, though a lot of the picks that, we have, like Jalen Tatum, all those guys, those were all Danny Ainge picks. But at the end of the day, I mean, GMs and head coaches, they work hand in hand. So a lot of those guys that are thriving now definitely, were under Brad Stevens' wings. And I just feel like he should get just as much credit as the guys on the court. The job's not done. It's still a 2-zip series, but with Rob Williams not on the court, I don't see any sort of, I don't know what adjustments the Nets can make. Yes, they have two of the best isolation skilled scorers to ever play. That's a fact. But coming into the series, everyone knew that Boston was the better team. The switch that they flipped from January onward, going from basically under 500 to the best team in the league, that was not a fluke. The best defense in the league, two of the best wings that everyone thought should split up, which I still find to this day very comical. Just as comical as I find that Jaylen Brown didn't make the All-Star team because of our team record. I mean, he started off the fourth quarter scoring like 10 of our 14 points. He was part of the wall that basically put Kevin Durant in jail. Like, he was everywhere, and he was just superb. Tatum was superb too. He didn't shoot the ball in game 2, but his defense, he's probably, you can't name the best defensive wings in the game without mentioning Jason Tatum's name. I just think that's the point he's at. That's the point he's at in his career right now. He did an amazing job on Kevin Durant too. Grant Williams, who's made a very big leap from year 1 to year 2. Corner threes, playing defense. Marcus Smart, we already talked about. Well, I talked about with my friends and my dad and my brother. How about game 1, right before the buzzer beater, right before the lay-in by Tatum, he had a chance to really shoot the rock on the wing with a couple seconds left. And when I saw Claxton, I think it was Claxton and Brown, when they went flying at Smart on the perimeter, I thought for a fact that he was going to shoot that ball. And when he pump faked, and this goes back to what I was saying about growth, last year, Marcus Smart was going to take that shot. But that just shows you like how, unified the Celtics squad is. Him being able to pump fake and find a better team play just shows you that this team is really, really built for the long run. I initially thought the series was going to go 7. I had Celtics in 7. I don't know about that anymore. I do believe that Steve Nash has to make some adjustments to help out Kevin Durant, because I just don't see him living in hell on the block like he has the past 2 games. They're going to look at film. It's the playoffs. There have been a lot of teams that go up 2-0, and the 2-0 goes from a potential 4-game series to a 6-game series. Sometimes a 6-game series goes to a 7-game series. So we'll see. I will give Kevin Durant that respect. I'll give Kyrie Irving that respect, because they've been in 2 holes before, in their careers. So I'll give them that respect. They'll get. I'd be shocked if we swept them. I'll just say that. If we do, great. If the Celtics sweep them, great. But I'd be really, really shocked if they did. I do think there'll be some adjustments to be made, but thus far, like, the Celtics have had them in a chokehold. Game 1, like I said, both games were very winnable for the Nets. Game 1, if Jalen doesn't get that, in game 1, if Jalen doesn't get that 2-for-1 fast break layup, then that's probably up 1-zip, because Kyrie hit that crazy 3 over Marcus Smart with maybe like 50 seconds left to put them up. I believe it was to put them up 3. And then Jalen came, cut it to 1. And they came back down. Kyrie was dribbling around all these guys, and then he dished out to KD with like a second left on the shot clock. He was forced into a tough heave over Tatum. Very low percentage shot. Missed it, obviously. Jalen gets the rebound. And, the rest was history. He comes down, streaking the baseline, kicks out to Marcus. Tatum, high IQ cuts, finds him, lays in, game 1 over. Just like that. It's crazy. It just takes a couple plays between, a W and a loss, as, cliche as that sounds. But it was like this close. It was really this close. And then game 2, obviously, the Celtics, we got smacked in the mouth to start off the game. Smacked in the mouth. The Nets were kind of rolling all game. Their role players, Dragic, Bruce Brown, they were having, like, Claxton, they were having, very, very impactful performances. And I honestly don't even know what happened. I just think the Celtics defense just intensified. The Celtics were just missing shots. That's the reason why they were down in the first place. The Nets weren't completely like outplaying them. Kyrie and KD were not shooting the ball well. I mean, KD hasn't shot the ball well all series. Kyrie obviously had that masterful performance in game one, but he was really the only one that was really able to really knock down shots. So game two, they just intensified. I like I said, it was the Celtics defense, and I mean I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock just because, like I said, I've never seen a defense defend Kevin Durant like that. Like I still go to bed. I'm like, wow, like this is someone that I believe is like the greatest scorer to ever live. But now looking back at it, I'm like, is it the greatest scorer to ever live? But actually, you know what? I should pump the brakes on that. Because as great as Michael was, as great as Kobe was, they were also in a system, obviously the triangle. They're in situations where they have to, and this is kudos to Phil Jackson and, the genius that he is. He had to get them to buy into a system where you have to trust your role players. The Nets are not going to trust their role players. I'm sorry. I mean, they trust their role players, but in terms of making plays, like that's just not the system they run. And Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, like I was talking to someone at work today, and I was just telling them that they look like AI and Melo back in Denver in the late 2000s. Everyone was just in love with their scoring ability and the way they play off of each other. Man, it's a 10-man roster. You need like 10 guys to win a championship. Realistically, you need like 7 to 10 guys. I mean, you got to be deep. You got to be able to play defense. You got to be able to help your scorers. And KD and Kyrie, as great as they are offensively, they're not particularly they're not floor generals. You know what I mean? That's what made James Harden so special, and that's why the fit was so unique, because James Harden could kind of flip the switch between scorer and playmaker. And I know he's been shooting the ball kind of, he's been underwhelmingly like from the field and stuff, but no matter what you say about James Harden, he's one of the best playmakers in the league. He's going to get you 10 dimes. He's going to find the open man. He's going to command you as a floor general. He's going to run the pick and roll basically as well as anyone else in the league. And that's just how special he is as a playmaker. Dating back to OKC, it's not a fluke that in OKC, crunch time, he was the one handling the ball. It wasn't Russ. It wasn't KD. He was the one running the pick and roll and, making those primary decisions late in the game. So, I mean, he's always been built for this moment. But going back to KD and Kyrie, like that's not, they can do that, but that's not them. That's not their strong suit. Their strong suit is scoring, as we know. If Nash doesn't get any sort of personnel to help KD and Kyrie out, it's going to be a sweep. I see it in their sleeper 5 games because you got guys like LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, who have played in numerous playoff games and just sitting there on the bench. And if, like, I'm LaMarcus Aldridge, like, I'm sitting there, like, my competitive spirit, like, am I really scared of Grant Williams? Am I really scared of Robert Williams? If I'm Blake Griffin, am I really scared of Marcus Smart? Am I scared of Jaylen Brown? Like, no. I mean, yeah, they're younger. Yeah, they're fearless, but you're a competitor. You're not gonna be scared. This is the playoffs. Like, you gotta go get your shit. You gotta go get what's yours if you want it. And the Nets just, I hate to say it, they just don't want it as bad. So kudos to Celtics. I know, this defense, nothing's gonna change. I mean, the only thing that can change for the Celtics is they're gonna get Rob Williams back. That might change the whole series. They might make things even worse. I know the Nets are expecting Ben to come back, and Ben might help. Ben might help with defense. He might help alleviate some pressure playmaking wise, rebounding, getting the ball out in transition, finding guys, in the open court. But at the end of the day, like, dude, this dude hasn't played in a year. And like, for anyone that's ran up and down a basketball court, when you spend like 5-6 months without exercising, you go and runs. And I'm just talking normally. I'm just talking like a standard pickup game at like the YMCA. If you spend 5-6 months without running up and down with a basketball or taking a shot, and then you go to the gym and hop in a 5-on-5 game, you're gonna get your ass kicked. Like, it doesn't matter how talented you are. No one can simulate game shape, let alone NBA game shape. And also, he hasn't played with KD and Kyrie yet, so I mean, he can help defense wise. He's one of the best defenders in the league. He's been top 3 defensive player of the year voting, I think twice, 2 years running. So he's one of the premier defenders. He can guard 1 through 5. We already know that. But at the end of the day, he's not in shape. He's just not in shape. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to Peyton Pritchard. Obviously, I mentioned Grant Williams, Jalen, Tatum. Oh, I couldn't forget Al Horford, Marcus Smart. It's just the defensive wall is crazy. The defensive wall is Horford, Tatum, Jalen, Smart. Derek White will pitch in here. Grant Williams will pitch in here. Like, the wall on Kevin Durant and Kyrie has been crazy. Every time they, command pick and roll, they just trap them, trap, and make someone else beat them. And you saw Dragic. Dragic was in a position where he was very effective. He was scoring the ball. Nash kind of went away from him later on. I mean, that's kind of their own business. But at the end of the day, like, that's what the Celtics are doing. The Celtics came into the series and they said, listen, we're going to force these two guys to make others better. And that's the only way they're going to be able to win. And, the ISO brilliance, they'll live with the low percentage shots. But, I mean, in the playoffs, like, you need to utilize guys 1 through 7, 1 through 8. You know what I mean? And the Nets have guys, like I already mentioned, LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin. And hypothetically, it's like, bro, like, Kevin Durant, when he's on the block and they put the point guard, whoever the ball handler is, sends the pass to him down the block. The Celtics have a guy on his hip. They have a help defender at the top of the key ready to prevent penetration. They have a guy behind preventing the skip pass, and they have a guy in the paint. So Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, whoever it may be, has no position to, basically display their isolation brilliance. They're in no position. They can't. They're basically just walking into a trap. So usually what they do is they try and reset. And they kind of reset, they back away, try and reset, and they try and get a pick. But the pick is pointless because they double up on that anyways. So when they double up on that anyways, you're already wasting time because you try to reset. And before you know, you've already wasted like 10, 12 seconds, and you haven't even run a play yet. That's what the Celtics have been doing. And I can't even believe I didn't even mention this, but Ime Udoka was on Steve Nash's staff last year. The same staff that almost beat the Bucks. Ime Udoka was an assistant coach. So he has that's a lot of intel. That's a lot of intel he's bringing from Brooklyn to Boston. He coached KD at USA. He was on the coaching staff. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong. You have to kind of tip your hat. The Celtics are playing amazing. I can't wait for Game 3. I told everyone that I think I'm one of the more deserving human beings on the earth that should be courtside for every single game. I still believe so. Can I afford that? No. Will I afford that one day? Hopefully. We'll see. Inshallah. Hopefully. But I just want to give a shout out to the Celtics Nets series. Obviously, more kudos to the Celtics just because home team. I know Kyrie's dealt with a lot of BS at the Garden, but that was just well expected. I mean, I've had numerous conversations with like my boys, my friends, and a lot of it he brought on himself. But at the end of the day, like, bro, you just gotta get over it, man. You just gotta get over it. Like, it was a 3-year. It's been 3 years. Like, just let it go. It's cool. Just let it go. But I mean, on the other side of it, I get it. New England fans, it's like Boston fans and Philly fans. Those are like two of the most like cutthroat, passionate, like everything. They're just such diehard fans. It doesn't matter what sport it is. They're just gonna ride and die for the guys. And once you do them wrong, it's clipped. It's over. You saw Ben Simmons didn't even want to play in Philly. He didn't even want to play in Philly after he got traded to the Nets. And later on we figured out his back had an issue, but we didn't hear about that till after. But people speculated like, oh no, this guy's ducking smoke. He doesn't want to get booed. He doesn't want to get called names. And it's crazy because one day they say they love you, and then another day they're like, nah, fuck you. Like, nah, you're a pussy. Nah, you're this, you're that. You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta live with it. But that's what comes with being a professional athlete. Like, they're not the first athletes ever to, be cursed at. So sometimes some guys can handle it, some guys can't. You just gotta live with it. And that's what it is. But I can't wait for Game 3. And man, it feels like the NBA Finals. I don't know about you guys, but like these are like, if you could count like the 5 best teams in the league right now, like those are 2 of the best 5 teams right now. Like you have to. It's like the Bucks, the Nets, the Celtics, Phoenix, Golden State. You could throw Denver in that conversation too if you'd like. Miami should get some respect, but I mean, Boston and the Nets, they're right up there, especially Boston. Like I think Boston's the best team in the league right now. the way they're playing. Because the way that defense is looking, I don't think there's any team in the league that can match that level defensively. Maybe Miami, maybe Milwaukee. Well, after Middleton's injury, I don't know. But, I mean, it's defense wins championships. And right now, they've kind of been playing championship defense for the past, 2 months now. So, shout out to the Celtics, Game 3. Next, I'm just going to touch upon the Pelicans Suns series has also been, nothing short of exciting as well. We saw in Game 1, Suns came out, smacked them in the mouth, 60-win team, 2 All-Stars, Devin Booker, CP3, 2 All-NBA guys as well. Mikal Bridges, he took another step forward, second in Defensive Player of the Year voting after Marcus Smart, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, the whole, everybody. DeAndre Ayton, I can't even forget him. Everyone kind of took a step forward. And, they've been the best team. They've been the best team in the league. To this point, I can't say nothing much more. But, Game 1 came, smacked them in the mouth. And the Pelicans came in the third quarter, Game 1, and they had a really, really, really great third quarter. They fought back in the game. Yeah, they came out short, but CJ and Brandon Ingram showed that, that they're nothing to play with either. Game 2 comes by, and then Devin Booker starts scorching, 30 in the first half. But the Suns were only up single digits at half, and that was just I don't know. But I think everyone kind of slept on the productivity that the Pelicans role players have. Herb Jones, Valanciunas, Alvarado. I know I butchered his name, and I do apologize. But number 15, Alvarado, he's been a great story too. And I just don't think we really took the scoring skill duo of CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram that serious. I did tell people that Brandon Ingram does have a chance to be one of them ones. I did say that. I remember saying that back in episode 3, NBA trade deadline, after they got CJ. I was like, listen, man, this dude, he's got the tools, he's got the intangibles. You never know. You know what I'm saying? Don't label him a empty stats guy yet. This guy's been to the All-Star game. He's a very talented individual, Mr. B.I. You know what I'm saying? Number 14, he's a very, very skilled individual. And you saw it in Game 2 when he displayed down the stretch in the half court, 37, 9, and 5. Nothing to play with. That boy got some shit. So obviously we know the Booker hamstring, very, very sad news. One of the NBA's brightest stars. It stinks. He's gonna miss the rest of the series. He's gonna be out the next. It was ruled a grade 1 hamstring strain. So he's expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks, but hamstrings are nothing to play about. Hamstrings, as you know, are nothing to play about. Very lingering. We saw James Harden last year. I think he came back, and I hate to say it, and not to go on a hamstring tangent, but I do think that James Harden coming back too early. I think he came back too early in last year's Eastern Conference Finals. First off, James Harden's an Iron Man. He's not the type to sit out. If he know he can play on it, he's gonna play. And KD was desperate. You know what I'm saying? That was his guy. He's like, you know what? I'm going to come out and play. I can't really blame him for that. But at the same time, that pressure, for his career, it might not have been best. As you can see, his first step is pretty much gone. He doesn't have the same burst. And I know he's, been kind of labeled as a guy who doesn't take care of his body. And there's been rumors and reports about, how KD looked at him when he came into training camp, and he was shocked about, how out of basketball shape he was. But I don't think that hamstring healed correctly. I don't think it did. I don't think he's been the same player since before he first strained his hamstring. And he did again in the playoffs, and then he came back. He's basically playing on one leg, and James Harden's a warrior. That's one thing you can never make fun of him for. You can't label him a lazy player. I mean, I know, NBA meme Twitter is probably gonna come at me and be like, oh, they're probably gonna show me a bunch of plays where he was lazy on defense, but listen, when you're carrying a franchise for 10 years, listen, something's going to give. Something's going to give. But never sat out games. None of that load management shit. He never did none of that shit. So back to Devin Booker. I just think, the hamstring it's a very funny injury. It's a very funny injury. It's something that takes time. I think it definitely ranges depending on the player, depending on... Obviously, we know that it's a grade 1. It says 2 to 3 weeks, but who knows? That could take a month. It could take a month before Devin's even ready. And on top of that, he already missed 16 games earlier this year, from that same hamstring. He strained that same hamstring early on in the year. So it's very tricky. Ironic that CP3 is going back to New Orleans, where basically he going to the superstar, and he's back home. He's back home. I think the Suns still have a chance of winning this series. Ultimately, I do think they're in trouble because I don't think CP3 is the same. He's never been. CP3's always been a guy that can score the ball, and I actually find it funny that he's actually such a very underrated scorer. Like, people don't, like, he can shoot the three. His mid-range is outstanding. He can get to the rim. He has a handle. He hits his free throws. He hits threes. Like, it's like you would think, why doesn't this guy average 25 a game? Why hasn't he? But that's just not in his DNA. He's not wired like that. He's just a floor general. He's just much more effective getting others involved. But he's going to need to tap into that scoring bag. Without Devin Booker, he needs to tap in that scoring bag. It's because now without Devin Booker, you're really only looking at what guys can create off the dribble for themselves. Him, Mikal Bridges can give you a little bit of something, Campaign, but that's about it. After that, it gets really thin. So I am nervous for the Suns a little bit. I do think that this series is going to end up going 7 because I do think Chris Paul, as much as I said that he is underrated scoring and he might have to tap into that bag, I do think if there's any point guard that's undermanned that's going to lead you against, a two-man scoring machine like CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, what other guy would you rather, ride this ship than Chris Paul? So I will give him that respect. I think it's going to go 7. I do ultimately think that the Pelicans will win. I might be naive, but I just think that, the role players of the Pelicans are just, they're young, they run, they jump, you know what I'm saying? I know it sounds very, vague and cliche or whatever, but they got some athletic dudes over there in New Orleans. So I don't know. It's gonna get dicey. The West is really dicey right now. So can't wait to game 3 for that one. Looking forward to watching it. Everyone kind of knows my demise and my past animosity towards the Golden State Warriors. Dating back to when Kevin Durant left, and then obviously all those years LeBron battled the Warriors. Everyone knows I can't stand them boys. Now I don't really mind them. I respect them. It's just part of the game. You can't always be on the winning side. Like, not every dynasty is gonna be your favorite team. I'm a Pats fan. We enjoy the dynasty. People don't like us. People do not like the Pats, and now they're glad that we've kind of come down to earth. So. But I do have to give them the respect. The Golden State Warriors, I truly, truly believe that they are, like, this close to running it back. Jordan Poole is basically the greatest basketball player to ever live. That's kind of the trajectory he's on right now. He was in the G League last year. He made some appearances with the Warriors, comes back. Steph's dinged up, Clay's dinged up, and he's feeling, it doesn't matter if you need him to play the 1, play the 2. He's been just nothing short of exciting. At first, people thought this might be a little hot streak, but it was like, nah, this is a real thing. Game 3 just ended. They took a 3-zip lead on the Nuggets. I think he had like 24, 25. He's averaging, coming into Game 3, he was already averaging like 30 on like 64% shooting from the field. He's over there talking to the vets in the middle of the Game 3 in the huddle, trying to pump up the vets, and I'm like, this dude, this is his 3rd career playoff game. He's gone over 20 points in every single playoff game. This is a 2nd-year dude. Like, what is going... Second? Yeah, Jordan Poole might be a 3rd-year guy. But I don't know. Regardless, he's a young cat. He's a young cat, and he's killing. He's killing. And before I even go on about the Warriors, Jordan Poole is not Steph Curry. Jordan Poole... I had a long conversation with Rodney and Chase, our brothers, and we were talking about it, and I was like, bro, Jordan Poole is not Steph Curry. Yes, he plays very similar to Steph Curry, but I think it's more about him playing the Steph Curry role in their offense. They have a certain system that they've implemented that everyone's been very fond of. Everyone's that's basically killed the league. The system that's basically been killing the league for the past, I want to say, we're in 2022. That system's been killing the league for a solid 6-7 years. You know what I'm saying? Even prior to KD going there, they were already killing with that system with Clay and Steph. Jordan Poole just has he has the skill set. He has a very similar skill set to Steph, but I don't think he's Steph. I feel like that's just kind of that comes off as like that's kind of disrespecting his craft, his own bag. I feel like y'all should just let him be his own player. Like he worked at this. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't a high profile guy. This was a guy at Michigan. He was hooping at Michigan. Came in a little small, raw athlete, raw scorer, but he worked to get to this point. You got to give him that credit. Obviously, Clay and Steph, that mentorship and being around them, that definitely went ways for his game, as it would for any young guy or any young guard coming to the league. But at the end of the day, like you got to point the brace. Like, he's his own guy. He's got his own bag. So I feel like we should at least give him that respect. Yes, his stats, his shooting numbers, they kind of mimic Steph. He was number 1 in the league in free throw percentage, which is ridiculous. That's usually Steph's spot. I understand, but I think we should say they have like similar skill sets. I don't think we should necessarily say, oh, he's Steph. He's playing the Steph role like probably as well as anyone else would. You know what I mean? But I think Jordan Poole just deserves. He's gonna get the bag. I don't know about next year because they're kind of strapped for money and they don't necessarily need to pay him next year. But he's definitely someone that I think should be taken very, very serious. I don't know how he wasn't on the most improved ballot. I think that's crazy, first off. Second off, the Warriors, they're about to run it back. You know what I'm saying? This is the third game. I think it's the third game that we've seen Clay, Dre, Steph, and Jordan Poole play together. Obviously, Jordan Poole and Steph start off the year together. Clay was out for a long time. Then Steph kind of got dinged up. And they had Draymond. Actually, Draymond started the year off too with those two. Then Draymond hurt his back. Then it was just those two. Then Steph hurt his foot towards the end of the season. He was out. Clay came back. And then Clay and Poole kind of figuring out how to kind of play off of each other. Then Steph comes back. Was it Steph or Draymond? I don't even know. I think Draymond came back from his foot. Then it was Draymond, Clay, and Jordan. And then ultimately Steph came back after spraining his foot. And now it's just them four. So we haven't really gotten a solid sample size of those 4 guys together. And, their new death lineup, which is basically those 4, Jordan, Steph, Clay, and Dre. And, you could throw, today at crunch time, it was Wiggins. But, that's a guy you could throw, I guess you could throw Kevin Looney in that 5th spot. You could throw, I already said Andrew Wiggins. You could throw Iguodala in that 5th spot. But regardless, that's going to be the 4. That's going to be the crunch time 4. And they're as lethal as they come. I don't know if I can name another 4 in the league right now that can at least compete with them on both sides of the floor. Because Draymond's one of the best defensive players. Clay's still getting his legs under him, but, he's no slouch on defense, too. 6'7", can defend multiple positions. And then you got basically the deadliest backcourt right now in Steph and Jordan. Like, they're unguardable. You can't guard them. And, the Nuggets game was very winnable. The Nuggets could have won this game, game 3, but it's that championship pedigree that the Warriors have. I do expect them to make the NBA Finals, especially, with the Devin Booker hamstring thing. I think that's actually a tough look. A hamstring is very, very tricky to solve, as I've already mentioned. I just don't see what else could be in the Warriors' way. Just because we were already giving them that respect just with Steph, Clay, and Dre. We're like, you know what? They might get back to the finals. Post KD, we're going to really see what they can do. And they were hungry too. You could hear it in their voices, They felt disrespected, you know what I mean? But now this Jordan Poole factor is ridiculous. It's crazy. They have depth too, Bielitsa, Otto Porter, Wiggins, Iguodala, Kevon Looney. They got some bodies, you know what I'm saying? They got some bodies. So I think they are very much built for the long run, like even more now, especially, like I said, with this Jordan Poole thing. So shout out to the Dubs. I actually don't hate them as much anymore. I'm not a naive kid, that just kind of sits up at night just saying, F you, Steph Curry, you hurt my point guard's feelings, you kick my point guard out of the playoffs. Like, it's just the NBA. These are the greats. You just gotta appreciate watching them. So shout out to the Dubs. I do expect them to pull the brooms out. I do feel bad for Nikola Jokic. He had a hell of a year. Has a chance of bringing another MVP home. It would be a shame if he got swept. I don't want that for him, especially in today's game. And if you were watching, you could tell that the Nuggets made some adjustments. The first couple of games, Jokic was at the top of the key, as he usually is, has the ball in his hands. But Draymond's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. I mean, he's one of the best defenders in the league. So, they watch film, they can key in on certain tendencies. They try to have Jokic more inside the paint, trying to, expose the Warriors' lack of basically interior defense, and that lack of basically a rim protective presence. Kavamo is our rim protective presence. Draymond's a little older. Draymond used to be that, but he's not really that. He can do some things here and there. He can definitely defend the court. I mean, you saw the steal at the end of the game. He's definitely, when it all matters, he's definitely, if not the best, one of the best defenders you want out there, especially in crunch time. So, shout out to the Dubs. I know it's definitely kind of cool at Jokic. Guys like Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Monty Morris. I know they've been playing real hard. But this is the Dubs, man. The Dubs they're just ready to run it back. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies series was a series, and honestly, I didn't have a pick. I really could. I swear, I could not come up with who I thought was gonna win the series. All I knew was it was going 7, and it's literally on. They're literally on a crash course to go 7 games. Obviously, they split the first 2. We saw both sides we saw the good side and the bad side of both teams. We've seen Ja Morant kind of out of control, going to the rim, getting to the free throw line, but the Memphis, their Achilles heel has kind of been like a constant half court presence. What made them so exciting is that they're young. They like to get on the open court, hit threes, do their dances, Ja's the leader of they kind of remind me of a rock band, you know what I mean? Ja's the lead singer. They're going crazy, you know what I mean? But they play as a team. They're in sync. But on the other side, the Minnesota Timberwolves kind of have that same problem too. They got a bunch of young cats. I don't really know what the pecking order is. I've seen Karl-Anthony Towns kill, and I've seen Karl-Anthony Towns in foul trouble. I've seen D'Angelo Russell hit shots, and I've seen him go real cold. The only real one who I saw who's been real consistent has kind of been Pat Bev and Anthony Edwards, especially Ant. I mean, we saw how special Ant was in Game 1, and in Game 2, it's not like he didn't have it. I honestly don't even know. And I'm very high on Anthony Edwards. I think and I love the Michael Jordan comparisons. I think it's personally hilarious. You know what I mean? Especially the meme with half their faces into one. Like, I think it's just hilarious. But that series has been amazing. This Game 3 was crazy. The Timberwolves are up. They created 2 separate 20-point cushions at 2 separate times in this game, and they still somehow found a way to lose. That is crazy. And then you hear Towns' soundbite talking about, we're in Minnesota now. Like, bro, can you just go win the game, please? Just go win the game. Please, just do that. Now you rile up all these Memphis kids up, and that's what you get. You get the comeback kids, and then they beat you. So I think that series is going to go in 7. I don't know what to expect. All I know is I think it's going 7. It's a bunch of young. It reminds me of a bunch of young kids at recess just playing for bragging rights. You know what I mean? You got a lot of pedigree guys out there. A lot of guys that know how to hoop. A lot of guys that have been on a big stage before. But this is a little different. This one feels a little different. This feels like feels different because we're seeing kind of a new page turn in the NBA. We're seeing kind of the old guys kind of on their way out. The KDs, the LeBrons. They're kind of like, they're still there, proving everybody they're still, those guys. But it's a new day and age, the Lukas, the Devin Bookers, the Giannis's, the Tatums, and, they're just right there with them too. The Anthony Edwards, the Ja Morants of the world. It's been nothing of it. It's given me a lot of college basketball vibes. Given me a lot of NCAA tournament vibes. All in, playing hard, talking trash, just they're playing with a purpose. You know what I mean? And I feel like the NBA fans have felt like some NBA players don't play with a purpose. They play for the check and that's it. But you can tell in that Minnesota and Memphis series that they really do care. I mean, you're seeing Cat's dad hanging out with Ja's dad. They're talking trash. They're sitting next to each other every game. You can just tell, like, it just brings that love for the game. You know what I mean? Like, you can just tell all these kids they just love to hoop. So I want to shout out to both teams, honestly. I don't really know what to expect because, like I said, they're both young teams. I know I said they've kind of all. I mean, the only one who's really played on that stage is Cat, but he was young. It was a while ago. Jimmy Butler was still on the team. Andrew Wiggins, Derrick Rose, and it was a different time. It was a different time period. But now, I think that's one of the most. That's the second most exciting series to me behind the Celtics and Nets. I can't get enough of it. I can't miss a second. Right after I got out of work, I just had to hit the dash and had to catch the rest of that game. It was a great game. And the funny part is that Ja, for example, Ja didn't even play that well. Desmond Bane, he shot amazing from the floor. Dylan Brooks hit a big shot at the end over Towns, that three that kind of iced the game. Jaren Jackson, that's another dude that I've seen good side and bad side. I've seen times where he looks like the best defensive player in the league, and I've seen other times where he just can't stay out of foul trouble. So you really don't know what you're going to get. Shout out to Tyus Jones, too. He came off the bench, hit some big shots, especially, trying to come back after that 20-point deficit late in the third going into the fourth. And, the Memphis just got a bunch of dogs, you know what I'm saying? You heard Ja. Like, if you doubted them, just, stay on that side, Me personally, I can't even say I picked the side. You know what I mean? I don't know who's going to win. I'm just kind of just going with the flow. I'm kind of freestyling it, you know what I'm saying? But, shout out to both those young teams. Whoever, comes out on top, they're going to run it back next year anyways. So I just feel like that series is just a great representation of where the league is heading. And I feel like, everyone should pay attention to it. So that's kind of a close on episode 5. It wasn't too long. I didn't really want to bore you guys with too much stuff, too much info. I just wanted to kind of just, like I said, kind of check in. I didn't cover every single series. I kind of wanted to highlight one of the most notable series. Jazz Mavericks, I didn't really touch upon them. Chicago, Milwaukee, Heat, Hawks. What's the last one? There's definitely one more series I'm forgetting. Toronto, Philly. But, after tomorrow's games, I'll definitely be taping another little session. So, look out for that one. Definitely not too much analysis on it. Just kind of basic, broad, headlining highlights about, every series, just constant check-ins just throughout the playoffs. Just, like I said, keep everyone's head on straight, keep you guys updated with stuff. It's the playoffs have been great. This is really my favorite time of the year. I lied. My favorite time of the year is really when the NFL and NBA are on. Same time. It's the best of both worlds. But after that, it's really the NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs has nothing like it. It's just, these guys they're going at it. 7-game series. And, the best part about round 1 is round 2. And then after round 2 is the conference finals. And after conference finals is the finals. And then, it's over. It comes and goes. But that's all for that. Second half of my playoff round 1 check-in will be coming soon. Expect that in a couple of days. But for now, subscribe, like, comment, do whatever y'all gotta do. Keep tuning in, keep running it up for me, and stay tuned because I got a lot more on the way. All right, peace.
Back to Russell in hard contact, and Russell stays on his feet. And once again, Adams occupying a couple of defenders deep. Then Westbrook joins the pass. Screen by Adams. I mean, he just wiped Harden out. He eclipsed him. Another playoff triple-double. Setting up Harden, rocking back with the nail and scoring.
That was a nice little stutter step in the step back.
Westbrook, this time checked by Ariza. He fades back and he scores! That was just about a heat check. Westbrook with another 30-point playoff game.
That was a sick move. Wow.
Right?
Pretty good defender on him as well. Number up here as Russell.
This is wrong now.
Gets the offensive rebound and the finish off of one leg.
Westbrook scoring again for 3. I mean, he's not even thinking right now. And you know what? Don't wake him up.
They're having trouble. They put a lot of different guys on him as well.
He's got 14 in the quarter, and Robertson digs that ball out.
And there's that pick and roll coverage that the Thunder had been playing very solidly.
Robertson, the angle 3. Fourth quarter to knock down a triple. He's set up by Westbrook. Deflected. Westbrook digs it out. He's going to go right at the rim. In the air, he switches the ball from right hand to left. Westbrook Waits for the traffic to clear and gets the shooter's roll from the free throw line. And at 3 points, they've got their largest lead. Kanter, inside score, set up by Westbrook.
That was a tough finish in traffic, still trying to grab hold of the basketball.
That was just about a heat check. Westbrook with another 30-point playoff game.